Hola, bienvenidos a otra sesión de Satchel Class. Soy Mr. Castellón and I would like to welcome you again to another wonderful lesson. Today we're going to be talking about ER verbs. We've done some videos on IR verbs and AR verbs, so feel free to find them on our website. The most important thing you need to remember is that this is a family of verbs. There are three families, big ones, AR, IR, and ER. Now, the most common ones will be AR verbs. ER will be the second most common verbs that we have in our language, and we use them quite often, actually. And you're going to see some very common verbs that we use every single day. So hopefully you're going to learn all of these verbs, but also you're going to be practicing and you're going to be revising some of the ones that you already know. Today we're going to be doing this for Key Stage 3 for Year 7s, but if you're Year 8 or Year 9, do feel free to come and join us and feel welcome to learn from our lesson today. So let's have a look at our targets today. Hoy vamos a aprender a conjugar verbos terminados en ER o NR, conjugar verbos regulares en presente simple y practicar con oraciones y frases comunes. So what is an ER verb? It is any verb ending in ER. We can find two types of verbs, regular and irregular. And we will be learning regular verbs mainly today. We will cover some irregular verbs, but they are kind of different and they do deserve a very unique lesson. And we will be making one of those in the near future. ¿Cómo se dice en español? To drink, to eat, to learn, to run, to read, to sell, to understand. ¿Cómo se dice en español? How do you say these words in Spanish? I'm going to give you 2 minutes for you to take your dictionaries, or 3 minutes to take your dictionaries or your translator or your laptop and translate these 7 verbs into Spanish. Go for it. 2 minutes. How did it go? A couple of things before I continue. To understand, you might have found a different verb to the one that I'm going to show you. And that is because we have synonyms. So remember that synonyms are really important. And if you play with them, if you actually search for other words, you're going to increase or you're going to expand everything that you know already. So whenever you actually search for a verb, for instance, to drink, okay, you're going to find options and you will find the first option, but keep actually seeing what other options there are in the dictionary. And the reason for this is that in Latin America, for instance, we will use a different word for drinking as opposed to the one that is used and that I'm going to show you today. There is nothing wrong in learning new words as long as you know how to use them and when. So here we go. Beber. Feel free to repeat after me. Beber. Comer. Comer. Aprender. Aprender. Correr. Correr. I know that for many of you, this double R is a very hard thing to pronounce. But the only way for you to improve your pronunciation is to practice over and over again. So, although it's hard, correr is one of those ones that will make you and will give you the chance to practice the double R sound. Leer. Leer. Vender. Vender. Comprender. Comprender. Well, that's a really good word to remember and to memorize and to actually jot down because it's one of those ones that we use quite often in Spanish. So let's see how your memory is feeling right now. I'm going to leave you for 2 minutes to look at those verbs if you didn't take note of those, and I would like you to fill in the gaps with the right vowel. 2 minutes for that. Go for it. How did it go? Let's see what vowels we're missing. So the first one, vender. Second one, leer, comer, beber, aprender, comprender, correr. Also, very important before I move on, is that all of these verbs end in ER, and of course, everything that we are going to learn today is gonna, or you can be used with each one of those verbs. What do I mean by that? Well, let's have a look at comer. Comer is split in two parts, as you can see. We have the white section and the yellow section. The white section will not change, and we call that in Spanish raíz or root. That means that this section here, that C-O-N-M, com, is not going to change. It's going to stay the same. The yellow section, however, is going to change, and you're going to see how. Now, remember that we're talking about simple present. So everything that you're going to see here is us speaking in present. So we have our different pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas. And then, of course, we have our root. And what we are going to do is we are going to change the ER depending on the pronoun. The first one, for instance, is yo como. Tú comes. Él, ella come. Nosotros comemos. Vosotros coméis. Ellos, ellas comen. Remember that these are the pronouns. We use these ones to refer to people. Like, for instance, if I want to say él o ella instead of saying the person's name. And also, we tend to do the following. We tend to leave out this pronoun and we only use the verb itself. And that happens because we are able to understand that when I say como frutas, the person I'm talking about is myself. If I say comen frutas, I'm talking about them. And if I say comemos frutas, I'm talking about me and other people included. There are many other verbs that will follow this conjugation, such as comprender, beber, leer, aprender, correr, ver o emprender. I've added two more verbs to my list, ver, emprender. I'm not going to translate them for you, but I'll leave them as a bit of a prep for you to work it out. So let's try and translate some sentences. So I'm gonna give you the verb beber, to drink. So if you want to do the basic level, that's absolutely fine. And all you need to do is translate bebo, bebes, and so on into English. If you want to do a bit of a more challenging level, then you'll do blue and yellow. But if you truly want to challenge yourself, then you're going to do blue, yellow, and green. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to try and work out as many sentences as possible, and hopefully you're going to challenge yourself to the advanced level. Go for it. How did that go? Now I'm going to translate them for you and check that your translations match mine. Yo bebo mucha agua is I drink a lot of water. Why do you drink so slow? My sister drinks orange juice. We drink water to survive. Where do you drink at weekends? My friends drink near the hotel. Very well done if you got all of them right. If you didn't, feel free to take note. But also, feel free to come back to the video and watch it again and pause the video and watch this every single time that you can. Now we are going to do a different exercise. I would like you to choose out of the verbs in the red box to complete the gaps in the sentences that are in the yellow box. There are more options than actual answers, so be careful. Okay. Also, if you finish earlier or quicker, feel free to translate the sentences, or why not write new sentences in Spanish with the remaining verbs. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to try and work out the verbs that fill in the gaps. 3 minutes, go for it. Well, let's have a look and see what the answers are for this exercise. En el colegio yo aprendo muchas cosas. Mi maestro de español lee en voz alta. Nosotros comemos tapas en el restaurante. ¿Comprendes? Mis hermanas corren todas las mañanas. Well, I hope you got those ones right, and if you didn't, feel free to correct or write them down. Some irregularities. There are verbs in Spanish that end in er that are irregular, and that means that the root of the verb will change as well. So let's have a look at an example. We have entender, to understand, and I was talking about a different one that we had in Spanish, and that's the one. Now, entender does get a change, and that change is going to happen on the E. So look at this. Yo entiendo, tú entiendes, él entiende, ellos entienden. We are going to change the E into an IE combination. Nosotros and vosotros won't make any change. They won't suffer any changes. Other verbs that we change like this will be querer and perder. Querer is a very important verb in Spanish, by the way. Mover is another verb that will change. Have a look. Mover. Yo muevo, tú mueves, él mueve, ellos mueven. It's another type of change that you need to become familiar with and, of course, practice a lot. Feel free to ask your teacher. Feel free to come back to the lessons again and check every single one of the slides that I'm showing you so you can actually practice. All the verbs like this, we've got quite a lot. Poder, promover, volver, resolver, doler, morder. Doler is a very interesting one. It means hurt, to have pain. And actually, we use it a lot when we are saying my back ache is sore, or my knee is sore, or I have a backache. So that's the one we use. And hopefully we'll have a lesson on that very specific verb. Finally, we have tener, very important verb. And that one, I'm just going to go previous. We have yo tengo, tú tienes, él tiene, nosotros tenemos, vosotros tenéis, ellos tienen. I'm going to, small mistake here. It's not to mover, it's to have. To have. That's what it means. But the most important one of all is ser. Ser is to be, is another version of to be. And look at that. Yo soy, tú eres, él es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos son. This is a very important verb in Spanish. It's a crucial verb that we need to learn and revise and practice a lot because we use it most of the time in Spanish and for many other things as well. So, muy bien. Remember to keep revising, and you have learned how to conjugate regular verbs ending ER in simple present. Finally, keep translating and making your own sentences in Spanish. For the time being, I want to wish you the very best. Muchas gracias, muchos éxitos y hasta la próxima.